I'm hoping what I offer next will be a good setup for where we're going. And it's making me think of the saying, the path of least resistance. I'm sure what you've all heard before and are familiar with. It's a very, very powerful idea in martial arts. It expands and extrapolates into all kinds of meaning for just life in general. And when you listen to the phrase, the path of least resistance, it really, and challenge yourself to like hear each word, you realize how much that statement is misinterpreted and misconstrued, right? So in the simplest sense, it's like nothing to do with the path of all resistance, right? But it's also nothing to do with the path of no resistance, which is what oftentimes people kind of tend to bend its meaning towards. Like, oh yeah, well, it's the path that has like no resistance in it. It's an easy path. I'm like, well, that's not, I don't think quite what the meaning is intending, because what the path of least resistance connotates is the idea that resistance has some role in a process. Right? And it speaks to what Carl was talking about, around this idea of like, well, I started to, do this work on myself and started to shift this stuff. And then all this stuff came up, right? I got sick, or, this different things started to happen in ways that were really, difficult and challenging. And I'm like, oh, that can be really kind of disheartening and discouraging. It's like, but I thought me doing work on myself is supposed to make things easier, right? And it is, but recognizing that resistance might have a positive role is a really powerful thing, because it makes you realize that there's a difference between easy and ease, right? So if we think about ease as full of peace and joy, that's a much more expansive way to approach difficult things, because then it's like, oh, okay, if there's like the hard way to do something, I don't want that. That's unnecessary. If there's the easy way to do something, well, I might want that, but can I trust it? Then we can kind of locate ourselves in the space of doing things the right way, right? And in this case, we're not talking about any kind of moral justification or cultural influence. We're talking about right being something that's full of ease. So the hard way is full of hard, and it has its obstacles and places where you're going to get discouraged. The easy way is full of easy, and it's hard to trust because it's too easy. But the right way is full of ease. It's full of peace. It's full of joy. You may be encountering hard things, but you can still navigate them with ease. So when we think about the idea of the path of least resistance, it gives the possibility to the idea that resistance can be positive. And how can it be positive, and why is it positive? Because resistance can actually tell us that we're moving towards something meaningful. We're moving towards something real. And it can help us locate ourselves in that endeavor. So simply put, if I start to move forward in a genuine way that has value and meaning, and I meet resistance in those initial steps, it's there to be a reference point for me that I can tell the difference between hard, unnecessary, easy, untrustworthy, and how much ease I'm developing as I move forward in that meaning and value. So without resistance, we wouldn't have a gauge or a contrast that's useful for us to understand when we're expanding into ease.